Welcome everyone to Redox Nurse Talk tonight. We're glad you joined us as we share this technology. My name is Cindy Reed and my co-host is Doria Stewart. And we're both nurses, and we started this program about 2 years ago because we want to share what this technology has done for us as well as what it's done for other people. And that's why each week we have different guests come on and share their testimony. And what you're going to see tonight, not diagnose, treat, or cure anything. It just helps the body increase its cellular communication in order to do what it needs to heal itself. So tonight we have guests on Patti Scallan, and Doria's going to do the interview later in the program. First, I want to show you a couple of videos. We're going to do Dr. Mark DeBrincat's video. It's a very short and very informative video that he talks about redox signaling. And then we're going to show the short version of the ASEA Genesis. And this tells how the company got started and why we're here today. So let me share my screen. Oh, we did open up the chat, so put your questions in the chat. We will let Patti answer questions afterwards. We do upload these videos to our YouTube channel, and it's YouTube at Redox Nurse Talk. So you can go there and watch and do the recording tomorrow and share that as well. So let's get the videos going. Yeah, try to find Dr. Marks. Okay, let's try something else here. We may just have to go with the Genesis for now. I cannot find where I just emailed it to myself. Okay, let's go with this.
I grew up in Salt Lake City, Utah. I took a degree from the University of Utah, managed some stores for Safeway, and then ended up going to work for General Foods Corporation. I was asked to sit on the board of a small company that had been working on a technology for about 15 years. Numerous patents, a lot of research, and they were actually producing a product using salt and water. And when they told me that, they wanted me to go on their board. I said, well, you're going to have to convince me that this is real. How can you produce something from salt and water? And they said, we have a lot of research, extensive research, $10 or $15 million worth of research.
Virtus agreed to join the board of directors.
So I went to the first board meeting and found out that they were flat out of money. They were $1 million in debt. We said, let's see if we can help them find money. We tried for about 90 days, could not. Eventually the company folded, and they actually merged it with another company, an energy company. And when that happened, that company started selling off assets. And I said, I am going to put a group of investors together and I'm going to take a run at the company. And over the course of a year, we discovered what the product was and why it worked. We developed what's called the mechanism of action.
They discovered the product was based on redox biochemistry, a new field of science that emerged near the beginning of the 21st century. Redox signaling is a function central to all forms of life. Redox signaling molecules are created within every cell of the body and are vital to the immune system and to cellular repair and replace mechanisms. As one gets older, the body's ability to make these molecules decreases, a function of aging. The product provided a replenishing source of the exact redox signaling molecules the body creates, and in the same balance, enhancing cellular health. Knowing the product's shelf life was essential, Virtus challenged a team of researchers, including Dr. Gary Samuelson, to find a way to stabilize the product.
And finally, after months, he finally came in and said, I think I've got the product stabilized. And we started testing it and found out that he had, in fact, stabilized the product.
After stabilization had been achieved, Virtus met with a group of university scientists.
This is stabilized redox signaling molecules, both positive and negative molecules in the same bottle, stabilized. And they said, how in the world did you do this? So one of the big breakthroughs is the fact that we can stabilize molecules that you're not supposed to be able to do that. The molecules in ASEA are supposed to be fleeting. They should all return to salt and water in just a matter of minutes, and they don't. So we decided to find 40 people and create kind of a focus group, and we started giving it to them. We did that for about 2 months, and we said, let's go out and find out where we are with these 40 people. So when we went out and contacted them, we found out that the 40 people had turned into 135, and the product had been shipped to 20 different countries. But in the meantime, we had contacted a friend, and he was running a very big pharmaceutical company in New Jersey, about $10–11 billion. And he finally agreed to send a group of people out and spend some time with us and see what we had come up with. So 4 people flew out on a plane. We spread out all of the research that we had out on a table. They started getting on the phone about noon back east, and they kept doing that, and about 2 o'clock they walked in the room and said, okay, we're convinced you've got something here, and it's significant enough that we will write you a check big enough that you won't want to talk to anybody else. And I said, what's the catch? And they said, you've got to shut it down. And I said, shut what down? And they said, you've got 135 people on this product right now, shut it down. People have problems all the time, and they deal with them as best they can. You're going to have to walk away. And that kind of took us back a little bit. In fact, I said, that seems a little harsh to me. And they said, you want to work with us, you walk away.
ASEA LLC opened its doors for business in July 2009 with just a handful of independent associates. Today, there are tens of thousands, and their ranks are growing exponentially every month. In 2012, the company announced its entry into Europe, the first of many international steps to come.
My wife questions why I'm doing this. She said, you've retired more than once, and it's time for you to join me, and let's enjoy the golden years, if you will. But recently, a young lady came up, and she broke down and started sobbing. And she had a health challenge in her family that was really severe, and she was introduced to ASEA. And because of what ASEA did, she was just grateful. So I find it hard to talk about, but that's a reason. Utah, I took a degree from.
Okay, let me try the email real quickly again. We'll go back and we'll get Dr. Marks. There we go.
Today I want to talk about signaling molecules in the body. First of all, signaling molecules in the human body are doing so many things that we just take for granted. And they're determining how easily your body can stay at homeostasis and have the ability to adapt to things that are coming into your body, sometimes unexpectedly. So the first part of signaling molecules, we're going to talk about the brain. So the brain is using signaling molecules to release and to transfer all of the happy hormones and neurotransmitters that are going on in your brain, like dopamine and serotonin and norepinephrine. And so they're dependent on signaling molecules to send and drive those neurotransmitters from one part of the brain to the next and to share information throughout the brain. So your entire nervous system is using signaling molecules to send information down the nerves, and from jumping from one nerve to the next, it's using signaling molecules in order to transfer that information. So our nervous system, which is our most important system in the body, is absolutely dependent on signaling molecules. The next thing I want to talk about is hormones. So we have over 50 hormones in the body that we've identified, and they are actually released and then stopped by a signaling molecule. It'll hit a receptor site and say, hey, I need some of this hormone, please start releasing it. And then another signaling molecule will come in, hit a receptor and say, we've had enough, time to turn that off. And we all know how delicate our hormones can be, and if we're not at homeostasis, we can have all sorts of health problems. Outside of hormones, we have digestive enzymes. We have 3 main enzymes to break down proteins, to break down fats, and to break down sugars. The release of these enzymes are dependent on signaling molecules, again, to communicate when I need and how much I need of these digestive enzymes. So 75% of all your energy every day is used just on digestion. So we want to make sure that those signaling molecules are working the job correctly. Outside of that, we have our immunity. Your central nervous system is tied directly to your immune system. And that immune system is the first response to threats and to anything that could cause harm to you. And we want those signaling molecules to work quickly. And we want the body to respond fast and to be able to return us to homeostasis from any invaders or any toxins or chemicals or things that shouldn't be in our body. It's our immune response and that inflammation response that, again, is all dependent on signaling molecules to get the job done. Then we talk about circulation. The entire lining of your vascular system has the square foot of larger than a soccer field. Now imagine that soccer field has shag carpet in it. That shag carpet is your glycocalyx, and that's the part of the lining on the inside of all your vascular system that has signaling molecules in it that is responsible for letting oxygen and nutrients through and pushing toxins back out into the blood. Not only that, those signaling molecules in the vascular system, they can tag stuff going by that shouldn't be there for removal or repair if it's injured. And so again, signaling molecules is absolutely every aspect of our vascular system to be able to communicate and function well and get the most out of our blood. Now that same glycocalyx that lines our entire vascular system, we have a really thick one that lines our brain called the blood-brain barrier, and we have another thick one that's our gut barrier. So that's the actual absorption of nutrients and food or molecules that the food is broken down to into your system. And of course, your blood-brain barrier is one of the most important ones because it needs to protect and keep all things that could harm our brain out of our brain. So that is so many reasons and so many aspects of why signaling molecules are so important in our body. But I'm going to leave you with one more that's just going to go way deeper. The inside of every one of your 100 trillion cells is filled with a fluid called signaling molecules that are literally driving the function of that cell. All the amazing things that happens inside a cell needs the signaling molecules to do so. Now here's the thing. As we age, we produce 10% less of these signaling molecules every decade. Now we're producing trillions of them every second, and within 100th of a second, we're using all of them. So this has never been anything that we could store for more when we need more. Now, for the first time ever, we have a company that has cracked the code. They figured out how to produce and how to stabilize signaling molecules outside the human body. This was an absolute miracle, and it's doing so much good in the world. For as I mentioned, as we age, we're losing the ability to produce more. Now we have a supplement that can fill in that gap and help return our cells to actual functioning cells of our youth. Now that is the key to longevity, is getting to principal parts of healing. So we have a supplement now that is not a nutrient to build your new cells, but it's an actual supplement filled with workers for your nervous system that are going to take and send and share information throughout your body to help manage all of the things that I just spoke of. Now it will take about 8 weeks of consuming this product to get you back to those youthful years. So I encourage you, if you've never heard about signaling molecules, well, now you have. And if you've never tried them, get back to the person that shared this video with you and figure out what it's going to take to get you started and to help turn your life around to that younger, more youthful, more vibrant nervous system and cellular energy and physical body that you've had in your younger years. So I hope this was very informative to you, and I hope you have a great day. Bye now.
Well, we just did things in reverse. That's okay. So we do switch up the videos every now and then. We've shown a couple of different ones of Dr. Mark. Sometimes we do the cartoon version. We just like to keep it interesting and you learn something from each time we do something different. So now I'm going to turn it over to Doria to interview our guest. And again, if you came on late, you can put your questions in the chat and then Patty will answer afterwards. We do save this to our YouTube channel as well, so you can watch it there tomorrow at Redox Nurse Talk. So Doria, I'm going to give it
Thank
to you.
you. Thank you very much. I thought that was wonderful. Liz, so I have the great honor to introduce to you Patti Scallan. I was so excited when I first met her, I guess maybe about 4 years ago, is because we are both from the great state of Delaware, and there's not too many people that I know that are from Delaware, even where I live here in Georgia. But Patti lives in Lewis, Delaware. She, with her husband of 48 years, she has two grown children. Matt, who is engaged and to be married next May, and a beautiful daughter. Now, do I understand they just recently got married, or you do have a wedding coming up?
Well, yes, they were married 2 weeks ago, but we have a formal church part in May.
Okay, all right. And they both live in Delaware, which is a blessing. They enjoy being at the beach, at kayaking and boating and more. And she's been in alternative health for over 20 years. I often see her on doing some podcasts and some reels and stories on different little nuggets about health. And what I want to do now, I'm going to let her go more into her story. I want her to share with us, Patti, I want you to share with us how this amazing breakthrough came across your path.
All right. Well, thank you so much for having me. It is a pleasure. And I love to share this story because it literally gave us our life back. So that was pretty exciting. So when I lived in North Wilmington in Delaware, I had a holistic wellness center, which I had for over 10 years. And while I was there, someone came into my center. It was kind of a big center. I had like 6 treatment rooms, a couple waiting rooms, but I had a big community room where we did classes and events and things like that. And Dorothy Canals came in and introduced me to ASEA, thinking that I would want to bring it into my business. And quite frankly, at the time, I had never done network marketing, didn't know anything about it. Plus, I was busy. I'm running a big center. I had a full practice myself, so I didn't look at it. So here we are a year later, and now I have a husband whose health is really failing. He was losing all of his muscle mass. He had significant discomfort in his hips and his shoulders. And, when you're in alternative health, your first step is not to go to the doctors. You try and get to the source of why you're experiencing what you're experiencing. But I could not get to the source of it. So I said, listen, just go to the doctors. We didn't go to the doctors normally, but I said, just go to the doctors. Let's find out what we're dealing with, and then we'll decide how we're going to move forward. But he just wasn't big on that because he figured if he goes, they're going to throw him on medication. That wasn't what he wanted to do. But his situation got worse. And I actually had gone to a presentation by another health practitioner that kind of did a lot of what I did. I did digestive health work also in my center, and she did that, but she could do a deeper dive because of her background. So I figured, well, I'll just go and glean some information, right? But I was impressed with her. You could tell that she really cared about who she was working with. And I thought, you know what, I'm just going to make an appointment for him, and he's going to have to go because I was tired of our life being on hold. So he agreed to go because his discomfort was that significant at that point. And what we found out was he had significant blood sugar issues. So for those of you that are familiar with that, his sugar level was 250. His A1C was over 9. So he was in trouble at that point. And it had gone undiagnosed for years because he hadn't been to the doctors. So she said, we can turn this around in 3 months. We gave her thousands of dollars to do that. And when the 3 months came around, we still had not gotten the results we had hoped for. Then she sent him to a pain specialist, and he was putting shots in his hips, and that wasn't really doing anything. So we kind of stayed the course for 6 months. And then finally I said, we just have to cut our losses and find something else because this isn't working. And honestly, I no sooner spoke those words out loud to the universe. And I literally remember Dorothy coming into my center the year before, and I didn't know her. She was a stranger to me. So my second God wink is I kept her information. So I called her up. I said, please come back in, explain this to me. She did. We ordered it on the spot. He was on it for less than a week, and he said, you know what? Something's definitely happening. My discomfort is less. He said, I actually have a little bit of energy to do something. I thought, okay, great. We'll just kind of stay the course. So it took about 2.5 months, and he was totally out of that severe discomfort that he was in. And that was almost 2 years that we were dealing with that at that point. So that was pretty magical then. So I thought, well, if he got results, I may as well jump into the business because I had clients. I had clients that had physical pain. I had clients with gut issues. I had clients with stress and anxiety. And now here's something that could genuinely help all of them. So I did get into the business. I also decided to, well, if he got results, I can get results. I didn't have any health challenge, but preventative was important to me. My dad passed when he was 44 of cancer. My mother
Mhm.
passed of cancer, and I thought, I've got that on both sides of the family. If I can get in front of that, I may as well get in front of that. And then the other thing, of course, was the anti-aging part. I was in my mid 60s at that point, and I thought, okay, I'll give this a try. So it has been such a blessing to us. It has been almost 8 years, and Dave totally reversed his situation without medication and has maintained, again, for those of a sugar level of hovers 100. His A1C is about 5.2 or 3, something like that. So again, magical, right? Um, and for me, well, for both of us. So in February, I'll be 72. He is 75. We take absolutely no medication. And as you said, Doria, we kayak, we bike, we boat, we do whatever we want to do because we don't have pain in our bodies and we're healthy. So it was just an amazing thing for us. So when we decided to move to the beach, which was really spur of the moment, I mean, it was something that we didn't really expect to do, but some situations happened. There were some people that passed and they were younger than us. And I said, you know what? Let's just go look. We found a house, we bought it. And honestly, it was because of me already building that extra stream of income in the center from ASEA that gave us the comfort level to say, okay, we can do this. Because I was giving up a full-time salary, so that was a little bit scary. But we were blessed that we had started the ASEA business, and that brings us to today. So here we are.
Wonderful. So in your 8 years of being a part of this wonderful, I call it as a family, a SEA family, and sharing this breakthrough, a couple of things. Can you, in the 8 years, what have you witnessed as your wow? Like, as thinking, with the people that you have shared this with, people that what is something that just kind of like wowed you, thinking like, oh my gosh, this did that? Is there a certain testimony that kind of comes to your mind?
You know, in 8 years, there's a lot, and I look at them as miracles. But we have a woman that just recently joined our team, and when I say our team, I'm talking about the Allen team that were on the calls in the morning. And in March, she was diagnosed with a very significant breast challenge that had already gone to the level that you don't want it to go to. And then in June, somebody introduced her to this. And by July, it was no longer apparent in her lymph nodes. And that was really great. But there were still other places in her body. By October, when they did her scan, she was clear. And again, I know we cannot claim that this can diagnose, treat, or cure anything, but we know that this is what happened with her. I have seen that over and over again, and it really doesn't matter what the health challenge is. It can be a blood sugar issue. It can be neurological issues. It just doesn't really matter. So that's what's the blessing of this, is that it's not just geared towards one thing. Now, I will say, and since you've seen some of my videos, I myself really focus on blood sugar and gut health, because that's what it was certainly for my husband, was the blood sugar issue. But I believe that blood sugar is pretty much at the foundation of all of our major health challenges, our cardiovascular, our Alzheimer's, our diabetes, all these things. So if we can control our blood sugar and work on getting a healthy gut, we can live relatively healthy, so that's where I like to focus.
Yeah, well, you've had breakthrough in that area, so it definitely is something you can speak of. And as Cindy and I both know, and nursing is, if you have your blood sugar is out of the abnormal values, it affects every system in the body, just like you said, neurologically, kidney, bladder, all of it. Just plays havoc in all systems. So let me ask you, so what, I know medications have their place, because, both Cindy and I are in traditional medicine. I'm actually a gastroenterology nurse, and Cindy's in hospice. So we know medication has its place. So he was doing the traditional route, which wasn't doing anything. So what was the key factor with redox signaling molecules? What was happening, do you think, in your own way? Explain that. What was happening in the body?
Well, he wasn't really doing traditional. He never went on medication.
Okay.
But what we did when we were working with that other health practitioner, because I did see a question down there, we did get his blood sugar down through diet and exercise, but we couldn't get him out of the discomfort. We couldn't rebuild his body. We couldn't get his energy back. And it wasn't until we brought ASEA into the picture. And, the analogy that we like to use in the company is the fire engine. And I love this one because it's exactly what was happening to my husband. So what that is if your house is on fire and the other side of town, there's a fire engine with the hose, ladder, water, everything to put your fire out. But you call on your cell phone and you have a bad cell signal. They never get the message. Your house burns down. This is exactly what was happening to Dave. This practitioner was giving him a plethora of supplements, trying this and that and this and that, and nothing was working. Well, why? They were good products, I'm sure. It was because his cells weren't communicating to utilize that. Even with the nutrition that, we were giving him, yes, we were getting the blood sugar down, but we weren't building his body back up. We weren't getting him energy. So that was it was this signaling that just kicked in, and that was a really relatively short time to give us a life back.
Yeah. So it's truly the missing link, just like you said, everything, it's like what, the nutrition and diet and all that, or the building materials for the cell, but the missing link was the redox signaling molecules, which we lack in our bodies. Yeah. Yeah.
I only saw the one question. She asked how long it took to get the blood sugar down. Honestly, his blood sugar within those first couple months came down, but I have had customers. For instance, I had this one gentleman and his blood sugar was 350 and he was already on 3 medications. The doctor wanted to put him on another. And then she heard my story and called. We got him on it. And as bizarre as it sounds, she texted me in 5 days. She says it's dropped 150 points in 5 days. Right. So obviously he continued that path. But everyone is different. We don't know what their lifestyle is. We don't know what's going on. So we can't say, well, it's going to happen in 30 days or 60 days. With us, the blood sugar, we were able to do that, but then we were able to stabilize it for the next 8 years. And I have to say, his diet's not as perfect as, like, those first 3 months, man, he really towed the line, right? But, he's much better than he was, but we live life. And because of that insulin signaling pathway and that EGR1 pathway, it just helps to regulate the blood sugar on a regular basis.
Yeah, it's miraculous. And I love what you said, like you were saying you didn't really have any health challenges. And then I think you were mentioning something, you had something going on with your shoulder. Yeah.
And that took time. I will say that did take time. It took a few months for that to go away, but it wasn't that significant that I think of it as a health challenge, although to some people it may be, you know. So again, like I said, we were really blessed, and I've been blessed to be able to help other people, you know, get
Yeah.
their life back on track.
Yeah.
And as we've said, we've seen so many things for those of us that are on Real Redox Results, the amazing testimonies that are on there. And honestly, well, now there's over 150, so I can no longer say, there was a point when I could say, well, I know almost half of them personally. That's not true anymore because there's so many, but I know, you know, probably 50 people personally on there that those testimonies are legitimate. You know, they're just, and like I said, miracles for some people.
For sure, yeah. And this testament or this website she's referring to, if this is your first time being on the Zoom this evening, it's realredoxresults.com, but you can get back with the person, you know, that kind of led you to this Zoom, and the password is Redox, and Patty's testimony is number 34. So let me, I'm going to ask you just a couple more questions, and I'm going to let Cindy to kind of take over here. What about, so you're 70, you're 72 years of age, right? Do you use a skincare?
Well, I will be 72 in February. Let's not rush that now.
Okay, sorry.
I absolutely use our skincare. I love our skincare and the mask. And I don't know whether you saw your emails today, but they're giving us 60% more now starting in December. So that's pretty exciting. That mask is amazing. I actually have done home little facial groups here where I do before and after pictures. And in one time, you can see a difference in one time. So imagine if you're using it twice a week or whatever. So I do use our skincare. The gel, you know, we didn't have the skincare when I first started with the company, but I have used our gel from here to here for 8 years faithfully every morning, every night. I have never ever missed a day, you know. And I think that's it shows, right?
It does. And women show their age in their what's this called again? The not, I don't know. Yeah, that's part of your neck. Yeah. So
Yeah.
beautiful. So tell us about the culture of the company. What has it meant for you about the culture?
Oh, well, you know, it's really interesting because when I first got involved with the company, it was in February, right? And I just worked with my clients, my current clients that I had. I didn't go out and work at like really a network marketing company, you know. So September, the convention was coming up, and I said to my husband, you know what? I need to go because I've got to decide whether I want to put both feet in or not, because I only had one foot in the door, really, you know. So I went, and I'm telling you, we weren't even through the first day, and I knew I was home. I knew that that's where I wanted to be because these people that were up on stage spoke from their heart. And that's what mattered to me. You know what I mean? Like they weren't up on stage saying, you know, you can get a car, you can get a boat. They weren't there. They were saying, you need to be a better person so that we can be a force for good in the world. That spoke volumes to me. So I knew within that first day that I was home.
Yeah, that's yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're so you know, to say they're ethical is just making it trite. They're so transparent, they're so kind, and they're so loving. And just like Verta said, when that one woman cried and shared with him, that was his decision. You know, he was 66 years old. He didn't need to start a company, right? So,
Yeah.
or was he 69? I forget. I forget. But yeah, I mean, it's an amazing, amazing company. I love the company as much as I love the products.
Yeah. One last question, Cindy. Sorry, I had one pop up. So how do you share in simple terms what we're talking about, and why should people look at this?
Well, it really depends on who I'm sharing it with. You know, I do a lot of network calls. So I will, you know, basically say that I work with people that have health challenges, people that want to prevent them, the anti-agers, and athletes. And I do this with a cellular breakthrough that works at the genetic level. So, I mean, I change that all the time. There's no set thing. But I want people to know who has responded, like who uses my product. I think that's what's so important. It's not about, for me, it's not about all the science. It's about what it can do for them. Can I help you get rid of your pain or even lessen it by 50%? Those kind of things. So I come from that place of how can it help them? And that's how I'll approach them.
Yeah. There is a question in the chat that everybody wants to know, how much are you drinking presently?
So presently I do 6 ounces, and so does Dave. In the beginning, he did 8 ounces. He did 8 ounces for I don't really know how long, but for months, probably 6 months or so, or maybe even longer. But like, as I said, no, maybe not, because he was out of that discomfort. So he probably cut back. But in the beginning, he was on 8 ounces and, would use the gel not as faithfully as he should. But then we kind of have settled in at 6 ounces. I mean, being at our age, even though we don't have health challenges, we're in our 70s. So we are producing less of those molecules, right?
Yeah, great. Awesome. All right, Cindy, it's your turn.
I just have a couple for you, Patti. I know you share this with your patients you talked about. How receptive are your patients to this?
Well, first of all, I no longer have the center. Okay.
Okay.
But when I had the center, because some of them had been with me for 18 years, you know what I mean? Like, they were my clients for many years. So they would trust me because, number one, they knew that I would never try and sell them something that I didn't believe in, and I think that most people that meet me and that speak to me can feel that I'm very authentic when it comes to something like this. Like, I genuinely feel that this can help them. So I didn't, with the people in my center, I didn't have any challenges with trying to convince them. I didn't have to do that, but I don't ever go to that convincing mode. It's kind of, you have a health challenge. I'm confident this could make a difference, and at the very least it can't hurt you. So why not give it a try? I talk to people all the time, and in my videos I talk about, you have to be willing to invest in your health, because if you don't invest in your health, you're going to be paying for sick care. And that is what our in America, I read this, and I did a call on this today. I read a statistic that 75% of the drugs and medication are taken by Americans, even though we are only 5% of the world. 75%. And why is that? It's because you go to the doctors and your blood pressure is a little high, here's a pill. Your cholesterol is a little high, here's a pill. Your blood sugar is a little high, here's 1 or 2 pills. Instead of saying, well, gee, why are you experiencing that? Let's get to the source of why you're experiencing that. Put these wonderful molecules in your system, and then, let's get to work. So yeah, I just feel that our bodies were designed by God to heal itself if we give it the right thing. You're absolutely right. There are times when medications are necessary, and I'm not going to dispute that, but I do believe we have that leg up with our redox molecules.
I think you're absolutely right. So it sounds like you don't really get a lot of pushback, or did not get a lot of pushback with your patients with this, because
Oh,
they trusted you,
yes, correct.
and that's huge. And I totally agree with the current healthcare system, or sick care system as we call it. And I just wish people would be a little more receptive to alternative things out there. Um, you definitely don't look your age. I mean, you are a poster child for ASEA for sure with anti-aging.
Yes. Oh, I did think I managed to get those before and after, so I can show you. Actually, Dave's is more significant than mine, because when he had lost all that muscle mass and he was very drawn and sallow, he looked like an old man, right? So let me see if I can bring these up for you. Okay. Oh, I have to hit the share button first. So let me see. Share. Okay. Okay. So this is Dave. And you can see in the brown hat, he looks very drawn and not well. And this other picture was about 5 months later. Obviously, they weren't planned before and after pictures, so, but it's like he was alive again, so pretty significant, right? So that was him. And then I will show you, okay, so we're going to share again. And I'll show you mine. Okay, so can you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there's 2 years difference between that. And in those 2 years, I didn't lose weight. I did nothing to my face. I have no Botox in my face or those kind of things. It was that it detoxed my body and then, started to use the gel. So there's 2 years difference. But here's what's really interesting is that's 2019. We're going into 2025. Of course, I look younger there, but you know what? I aged much slower because of these redox molecules that I get to use every day, right?
Those are beautiful. Well, again, you're a very beautiful lady, so you definitely don't look anywhere near your age. I think that's all the questions I have. Dory, did you see any more in the chat?
He's asking about the serum, or do you use the serum part of the skincare system?
I do use the serum. I can't say I use it every single day, just as a matter of timing. I love, love, love the cleanser and the moisturizer. I use the blue serum in the blue tube. I use that for my trouble spots, which is over my lip. No, I've never smoked, but I still have those wrinkles. And I use that on my eyes. I use the blue serum for that. But I will say, when you use this serum that's in the skincare kit, it's literally like your face glows. It's really, I mean, when we first got that new system and I put it on, I would be on a call and I'd go, oh my goodness, my skin's glowing. And it was that serum is what did that. They call it the glow serum. So I have to say that I love all of it. I don't use the serum every single day. I use the blue serum, not the orange one, but I use the gel every day. I use the mask twice a week. And sometimes if in between, I might just do it around my lips, for a third time, but twice a week. But with the mask, it depends on your skin. If you have dry skin, you don't want to use it too often, once a week maybe. But for me, that works for me.
Thank
And,
you, Patti.
and I will say one more thing, and this is the truth. When I incorporated the radiance, and that was in April, it took a few months, but all of a sudden there was even a difference. And it's funny because I was going through some old pictures and I was looking at some pictures last year where I did some before pictures, like before I started the mask or whatever. And the difference is pretty significant. So, it's just been fun. It's just been fun. So yes, I do literally use every one of our products. I do. I'm not just saying that. I do. I use all of the Cell Performance. I have the Redox Mood right here. I start my day with the Radiance, and I do a half and half of the mind and the energy during the day.
You're definitely a poster child for all of our products.
I am, and I use all the supplements. So does Dave. He's interesting because, he was always a skeptic, but when he was hurting enough to try it, and now he'll tell anybody about it because it really did give him back his health.
Yeah. And we hear testimonies like that all the time. And that's why we do this. That's why there's so many Zooms out there that people can go and watch, because we're just spreading the word, because this is the way you spread it. And through testimonies, testimonies tell stories, and that's what gets people in the heart. So thank you tonight for sharing, Patti. We appreciate you coming on as our guest. For anyone that may be ready to jump into this wagon, if you're excited about what you've heard tonight, then get back to the person that invited you to the Zoom and get your questions answered. Or maybe you just are ready to just blow it out of the water and build a business. Again, get back to the person that told you about this. Maybe you just need a little more information, but at the same time, while you were watching, you thought of someone that really would be interested or could benefit from this product. So we can share with them as well. So we appreciate everyone coming tonight. We will be off the next 2 weeks, so we will see you back in 2025 to start a third year with Redox Nurse Talk on January 7th, I believe it is, Doria.
Yes.
So stay tuned for our guests. We will post them as it gets closer. So everyone have a good night. Let me stop the recording though quickly. Hang on. Okay, Dory, I can't find the stop record.
At the very bottom, you will see where the apps are, pause, stop recording. Do you see that?
There it is.